Found out my girlfriend's girls' trip was actually with her ex. Our friends all knew, so I'm sitting here at 2 a.m., can't sleep, and I honestly don't know where else to turn. 3 days ago I found out that my girlfriend of 2 years has been lying to me about basically everything, and the worst part, every single one of our mutual friends knew and said nothing. I feel like I'm losing my mind. The discovery happened in the most mundane way possible. Sarah had left her laptop open on our kitchen table, and a notification popped up from Google Photos while I was walking by. It was a picture of her and her ex-boyfriend Jake kissing on what looked like a beach. The timestamp said it was from last weekend, the same weekend she told me she was on a girls' trip to Miami with her sister and college friends. I've been with Sarah since junior year of college. We're both 24 now, living together in a one-bedroom apartment that we split 50-50, and I genuinely thought she was the one. We talked about marriage, kids, the whole 9 yards. She was my best friend, my partner, everything. Or at least I thought she was. Let me back up and tell you how we got here, because honestly, I'm still trying to piece it all together myself. Sarah and I met at a house party through my roommate Marcus in 2021. She was this gorgeous, outgoing psychology major who could talk to literally anyone and make them feel like the most interesting person in the room. I was completely smitten from night one. We started dating pretty quickly, and everything felt natural and easy between us. The thing about Sarah is that she's always been really social. Like, aggressively social. She knows everyone, remembers everyone's birthdays, organizes group trips, the whole deal. At first I loved this about her because it meant I was constantly meeting new people and having new experiences. My social circle basically tripled when we started dating. Jake was part of that expanded social circle. He's this guy she dated for about 6 months during sophomore year, and they stayed friends afterward. When Sarah first introduced me to him, she was super casual about it. "Oh, this is Jake, we used to date but it was never serious." Jake seemed cool enough, he's in a band, works at a trendy coffee shop downtown, has that whole laid-back musician vibe that girls seem to love. I'll admit I was a little intimidated by him at first because he's basically everything I'm not. I'm an accounting major who plays video games and watches way too much Netflix. Not exactly the coolest guy in the room. But Sarah always made me feel secure about their friendship. She'd mention hanging out with him in group settings, and it never seemed like a big deal. Jake was at trivia night, or Jake's band played at Murphy's last night. Always casual, always in group contexts. I trusted her completely. Looking back now, I can see so many red flags that I just ignored or rationalized away, like how she'd get weirdly secretive about her phone sometimes, or how she changed the subject whenever I suggested hanging out with Jake one-on-one to get to know him better. "Oh, you guys wouldn't really have much in common," she'd say. Or, "He's more of a group hangout person, you know?" The lies started small, I think. Last fall, she began mentioning more girls' nights and sister bonding time. Sarah's sister Emma lives about 2 hours away, so it wasn't weird that they'd want to spend weekends together. Sarah would drive up Friday after work and come back Sunday evening, usually exhausted but happy. She'd show me pictures from their weekend, cute restaurants, hiking trails, shopping hauls. I never had any reason to doubt any of it. Then in December, she started talking about planning a big girls' trip to Miami for spring break. It was going to be her, Emma, and 2 of her college friends, Jess and Rachel. They'd been planning it for months, she said. Split an Airbnb, hit the beaches, eat good food, the whole vacation thing. I was honestly excited for her because she'd been stressed about job applications and deserved a fun break. The week before the trip, she was buzzing with excitement. Kept showing me outfits she was packing, asking if I thought her new bikini was cute, that sort of thing. The night before she left, we had amazing sex and she told me she'd miss me. She seemed genuinely happy and affectionate. No weird vibes at all. She left Friday morning and was supposed to be back the following Monday evening. Throughout the weekend, she sent me occasional texts and a few photos. Beach pictures, food shots, a group selfie with Emma that was clearly taken in a restaurant. Nothing seemed off. The photos looked exactly like what she described, a fun girls' weekend in Miami. But now that I think about it, she was way less communicative than usual. Normally when we're apart, we're texting constantly throughout the day. That weekend, I'd sometimes not hear from her for 6 to 8 hours at a time. When I'd text asking how her day was going, she'd respond with something brief like beach day. Exhausted lol or about to get dinner with the girls. Never anything detailed or specific. Monday night when she got home, she seemed different. Not necessarily in a bad way, just different. More distant, maybe? She said she was exhausted from travel and went to bed early. Tuesday she seemed more like herself, but there was something I couldn't put my finger on. She seemed almost guilty about something, but anytime I asked about the trip, she'd give me generic answers. It was great, really relaxing, the weather was perfect. Over the next few weeks, things mostly went back to normal between us. She was affectionate, we were having regular sex, planning future stuff together. She started mentioning wanting to plan another girls' trip for the summer, maybe somewhere international this time. I didn't think anything of it because she'd apparently had such a good time in Miami. But there were little things that bothered me, even though I couldn't articulate why. Like, she never posted any of the Miami photos on Instagram, which was weird because she posts everything. When I asked about it, she said the photos didn't turn out that great and she wanted to wait until Emma sent her the good ones from her phone. She also seemed to be texting more frequently and being more protective of her phone. Not like, hiding it under pillows protective, but just more aware of where it was and quicker to flip it face down. The worst part was how our friend group started acting around me. At first I thought I was being paranoid, but looking back, the signs were everywhere. Our mutual friends, Marcus, his girlfriend Katie, this couple Dan and Sophie that we hang out with all the time, they all started being weird around me after Sarah's trip. Not mean or anything, just different. More careful about what they said, quicker to change subjects, less likely to bring up weekend plans. Like 2 weeks after Sarah's Miami trip, we were all hanging out at Marcus and Katie's place for movie night. Someone mentioned Jake's band having a show that weekend, and everyone got really quiet really fast. Katie jumped in with, "Oh, I don't think any of us are going to that," and then immediately started talking about the movie we were watching. At the time I thought it was weird, but I didn't dwell on it. There were other moments too. Sophie would start to say something about last weekend and then trail off and look uncomfortable. Marcus would change the subject anytime Jake's name came up in conversation. Even small things, like when Sarah would mention plans with her sister, I'd catch our friends exchanging glances. I started to feel like I was on the outside of some inside joke, you know? Like everyone knew something I didn't. But Sarah seemed normal with me, so I convinced myself I was being paranoid. Maybe they were planning something for my birthday, or maybe there was just some friend drama I wasn't aware of. Then last week, Sarah announced she wanted to plan another girls' trip. This time to Austin, Texas. Same group, her, Emma, Jess, and Rachel. Same time frame, Friday through Monday. She was already looking at Airbnbs and talking about all the live music venues they wanted to hit. I was supportive, obviously. I want my girlfriend to have fun and maintain her friendships. But something about it made me uncomfortable, and I couldn't figure out what. Maybe it was just because our friends had been acting weird, or maybe it was some subconscious intuition. Either way, I found myself paying more attention to her behavior leading up to the trip. The Tuesday before she was supposed to leave for Austin, I came home from work and found her on a phone call in our bedroom with the door closed. This was unusual because Sarah usually takes calls in the living room or kitchen. She's not a private phone call person. When I walked in, she quickly said, "I'll call you back later," and hung up. "Who was that?" I asked, not really thinking anything of it. "Oh, just Emma. We were talking about the Austin itinerary." Something about her tone seemed off, but I let it go. Wednesday night, she was packing for the trip and seemed nervous. More nervous than she'd been for Miami, which was weird because Austin was going to be shorter and less expensive. She kept second-guessing clothing choices and asking me if certain outfits looked okay. "You seem stressed," I said. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine. Just want to make sure I don't overpack." Thursday night, the night before she was supposed to leave, she was acting really strange. Affectionate but also guilty seeming, if that makes sense. She kept telling me she loved me, but she also seemed distracted. We had sex, but it felt different. More desperate, maybe? Like she was trying to prove something to herself. Friday morning she left around 9 a.m. Kissed me goodbye, told me she loved me, said she'd text me when they got to Austin. I went to work like normal, assuming I'd hear from her around lunchtime. But Friday came and went with barely any communication. One text around 2 p.m. saying made it to Austin. About to check into our place. Then nothing until almost 10 p.m., long day, exhausted, Going to bed early. Love you. Saturday was more of the same. A few brief texts, no phone calls, no photos. By Sunday I was starting to get annoyed, tbh. Not suspicious, just annoyed that she was being less communicative than usual. When I texted saying miss hearing your voice, want to call tonight? She responded with super tired and the girls are being loud. Tomorrow when I'm home? Sunday night I was expecting her to come home around 8 or 9 p.m. based on what she told me about their travel plans. By 10 p.m. I hadn't heard anything, so I texted asking if they hit traffic or had a delayed flight. Actually staying one extra night. Emma's friend lives here and invited us out. We'll be home Monday afternoon instead. Love you. This was the first red flag that really bothered me. She hadn't mentioned the possibility of extending the trip, and it seemed weird to make that decision without at least calling to let me know. But I tried to be understanding. Spontaneous fun, right? Monday afternoon came and went. Finally around 7 p.m. she texted saying she was on her way home and would be there by 9. She walked in the door at 9:30, looking tired and a little frazzled. How was the trip? I asked, giving her a hug. Really fun, but I'm exhausted. Mind if I just shower and go to bed? I'll tell you all about it tomorrow. This was strike 2 for me. Sarah usually comes home from trips buzzing with stories and wanting to show me photos. The fact that she wanted to immediately go to sleep struck me as strange. Tuesday morning I tried to ask about the trip over coffee, but her answers were just as generic as they'd been after Miami. Really fun, great music scene, the food was amazing. No specific stories, no funny anecdotes, no detailed descriptions of anything they did. Did you take any pictures? I asked. Oh yeah, tons. I'll show you later when I have a chance to go through them. Later never came. Tuesday evening, Wednesday, Thursday, anytime I brought up Austin pictures, she'd say she hadn't had time to look through them yet. Friday night we went out with Marcus and Katie, and I mentioned that Sarah had just gotten back from Austin earlier in the week. Katie got this deer-in-headlights look and said, "Oh, Austin. That's fun." Then immediately started talking about something else. Marcus was acting weird too. Usually he'd ask Sarah about her trips, wanting to hear about cool restaurants or whatever. This time he barely acknowledged she'd been anywhere. That was when I really started to feel like something was seriously wrong. Our friends were acting shady, Sarah was being evasive about simple questions, and my gut was telling me that something didn't add up. Saturday morning, Sarah went to run errands and left her laptop open on the kitchen table. This is where we get to the Google Photos notification that started this whole nightmare. When that picture notification popped up, Sarah and Jake kissing on what was obviously a beach, my brain literally couldn't process what I was seeing. I stared at it for probably 30 seconds before it sank in. That was definitely Sarah. That was definitely Jake. And the timestamp said the photo was taken the previous Saturday, the day she was supposed to be in Austin with the girls. I clicked on the notification, which opened Google Photos to a whole album of pictures from the past week. Sarah and Jake at dinner. Sarah and Jake at what looked like a music festival. Sarah and Jake on the beach. Sarah and Jake in what was clearly a hotel room, though thankfully not doing anything explicit in the photos. The geotag on the pictures said they were taken in New Orleans. I just sat there staring at the laptop screen, my coffee getting cold in my hand. My girlfriend of 2 years, who I'd been planning a future with, had apparently spent her girls' trip to Austin in New Orleans with her ex-boyfriend. And based on the photos, it sure as hell wasn't platonic. I screenshotted everything before closing the laptop. I didn't know what I was going to do with the screenshots, but I knew I needed evidence because part of me still couldn't believe what I was seeing. Sarah came home around noon with groceries and farmers market stuff, chattering about her morning like everything was normal. I tried to act normal too, but inside I was completely falling apart. How long had this been going on? Was the Miami trip with Jake too? How many times had she lied to my face? "You okay?" she asked at one point. "You seem quiet." "Just tired," I said. That evening we had plans to meet up with our friend group at this bar downtown. I almost canceled, but decided I wanted to see how everyone acted now that I knew what was going on. Maybe I'd be able to tell who knew and who didn't. The answer was everyone. Everyone knew. It was so obvious once I was looking for it. The way conversations would halt when I joined the group. The way people avoided eye contact with me. The way no one mentioned Jake even though he usually comes to these things. Marcus kept buying me drinks like he was trying to apologize for something. Sophie kept being overly nice to me, asking about work and stuff she never usually cares about. The worst part was watching Sarah interact with them. She was completely comfortable, laughing and joking like normal. Which meant this was all normal for them. They'd been covering for her, probably for weeks or months. I made it through about 2 hours before I couldn't take it anymore. I told Sarah I had a headache and was going home. She said she'd come with me, but I told her to stay and have fun with everyone. I needed time to think. Sunday I spent the entire day trying to figure out what to do. I had definitive proof that Sarah was cheating on me, but I still didn't know the full extent of it. Was this a recent thing or had it been going on for months? Was the Miami trip also with Jake? How many other girls' trips or sister weekends had actually been cheating trips? I also couldn't stop thinking about our friends. Marcus has been my best friend since freshman year of college. We've been through everything together. How could he know that my girlfriend was cheating on me and say nothing? How could any of them watch me being lied to and just go along with it? Monday morning after Sarah left for work, I did something I'm not proud of. I went through her laptop more thoroughly. I found Google Calendar entries that told the whole story. The Miami trip in March. Jake was there. There were flight confirmations in her email for both of them, departing and returning on the same flights. Hotel reservations for 2 people. The Austin trip that was actually New Orleans? Same thing. Jake's name on the hotel reservation. But it went back even further. Those sister weekends I mentioned? At least 3 of them over the past 6 months were actually weekend trips with Jake. I found hotel confirmations, restaurant reservations, even tickets to a concert they went to together in January. My girlfriend had been systematically lying to me for at least 6 months, possibly longer. She created this elaborate fiction about girls' trips and sister bonding time, when really she was maintaining a full-blown relationship with her ex-boyfriend. The thing that hurt almost as much as the cheating was the planning involved. This wasn't a moment of weakness or a drunken mistake. She'd been booking hotels, coordinating schedules, creating fake itineraries to tell me about. She'd been living a double life. I printed out everything I'd found and put it all in a folder. Flight confirmations, hotel reservations, the Google Photos screenshots. I didn't know if I'd need it for anything, but I wanted to have everything documented. That evening, Sarah came home from work in a good mood. She'd had lunch with Emma, she said, and they were already talking about planning another trip for the summer. Maybe Europe this time. I couldn't take it anymore. I know about Jake, I said. The change in her expression was immediate. She went from happy and relaxed to looking like a deer caught in headlights. What do you mean? I mean I know about New Orleans. I know about Miami. I know about all of it. She was quiet for a long time. Then she started crying. How did you find out? Does it matter? I can explain everything, she said. Then explain. What followed was probably the most painful conversation of my life. Sarah admitted to everything, the trips with Jake, the lying about where she was going, the fake stories about girls' trips and sister weekends. But her explanation somehow made it all worse. According to Sarah, she and Jake had reconnected last fall when they started hanging out more in group settings. She said their old feelings resurfaced, but she didn't want to break up with me because our relationship was stable and good. She said she loved me but wasn't in love with me the way she was with Jake. So why not just break up with me? I asked. Because I didn't want to hurt you. And I wasn't sure what I wanted. You didn't want to hurt me? You've been lying to me for months. I know. I know it was wrong. But I was confused. She said the plan was for her to figure out what she wanted and then make a decision about our relationship. In the meantime, she was exploring her feelings for Jake. So I was like a backup plan? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? She couldn't answer that. The conversation went on for hours. I asked her about every trip, every lie, every time she'd looked me in the eye and told me she was going somewhere with her sister or her girlfriends. She admitted to all of it. The worst part was when I asked about our friends. Who knows? What do you mean? Who knows about you and Jake? Who's been covering for you? Another long silence. Marcus knows. Katie knows. I think Dan and Sophie figured it out. They all know you've been cheating on me. I asked them not to say anything. I told them I was trying to figure things out. So they've all just been watching me be an idiot. They care about you. They didn't want to hurt you either. But they were okay with letting you hurt me. She didn't have an answer for that either. I told her I needed time to think and asked her to stay at her sister's place for a few days. She packed a bag and left Tuesday morning. That was 3 days ago. Since then, I've been trying to process everything. The cheating is devastating enough, but the betrayal by our entire friend group might hurt even more. These are people I've known for years, people I trusted completely. They watched my girlfriend lie to my face over and over again and said nothing. Marcus texted me yesterday asking if I wanted to hang out. I didn't respond. Katie called this morning, but I didn't answer. I don't know what to say to any of them. I also don't know what to do about Sarah. Part of me loves her and wants to try to work through this. We've built a life together over 2 years. We have shared friends, shared memories, shared plans for the future. The thought of throwing all that away is terrifying. But I don't know how to get past the lying. It wasn't just the cheating, it was months of elaborate deception. She looked me in the eye every time she came back from a trip with Jake and told me detailed stories about what she'd supposedly done with her sister or her girlfriends. She let me be excited for her, let me ask about her trips, let me plan my weekends around her fake travel schedule. How do you rebuild trust after something like that? And what about our friends? How do I maintain friendships with people who watched me get played for months and said nothing? I understand they were in a difficult position, but it feels like they chose Sarah over me. They prioritized her comfort over my right to know what was happening in my own relationship. I've been reading r/relationship_advice and r/surviving infidelity for the past 3 days, and the advice seems split. Some people say emotional cheating is just as bad as physical cheating and I should walk away. Others say if I love her, I should try to work through it. The thing is, I don't even know if it was just emotional. Sarah admitted to the trips and the lies, but when I asked directly if they'd been physical, she said not really and it's complicated. What the hell does that mean? I'm supposed to talk to her tomorrow. She's been texting asking when she can come home, saying she wants to work on us, promising she'll cut contact with Jake completely. But I keep thinking about how easy the lying was for her. How she could come home from a weekend with another man and cuddle up to me on the couch like nothing had happened. How she could talk about planning our future while actively maintaining a relationship with someone else. I also keep thinking about our friends. Even if Sarah and I somehow work through this, how do I trust Marcus again? How do I hang out with Katie knowing she watched me be an idiot for months? How do we go back to group hangouts and game nights and birthday parties like none of this happened? I feel like my entire social circle has imploded. Sarah was my girlfriend and my main group of friends. If I lose both, I'm basically starting over socially at 24. But staying feels impossible too. Every time I think about her, I picture those photos of her and Jake on the beach. Every time I think about our friends, I remember how they all acted at the bar last weekend, guilty and weird and protective of a secret I wasn't allowed to know. I don't know what I'm looking for by posting this. Advice, maybe? Validation that I'm not crazy for being this hurt? Someone to tell me what the right thing to do is? Because honestly, I have no idea. Update. Talked to Sarah last night. It went not well. I went into the conversation hoping she'd be completely honest about everything, but instead she kept trying to minimize what happened. She insisted that things with Jake were mostly emotional and that they'd only crossed physical lines a few times. When I pressed her on what that meant, she admitted they'd kissed and fooled around but claimed they never had sex. I asked her point blank, if I called Jake right now and asked him the same questions, would he give me the same answers? She got defensive and said it didn't matter what Jake would say because she was telling me the truth. But she wouldn't look me in the eye when she said it. Then I showed her the folder of evidence I'd compiled. The hotel reservations, flight confirmations, all of it. She broke down crying and admitted that yes, they'd been sleeping together, but insisted it didn't mean anything and was just physical. So let me get this straight. For months, she's been taking romantic trips with her ex-boyfriend, sleeping with him, lying to me about where she was going, and having our entire friend group cover for her. But it didn't mean anything. The conversation ended with me asking her to move out. She begged me to reconsider, promised she'd do couples counseling, swore she'd never speak to Jake again. But I can't get past the systematic nature of the deception. This wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. This was a deliberate choice she made over and over again for months. She's staying at Emma's place indefinitely now. We're going to figure out the apartment and shared stuff over the next week. Update 2. The friend situation somehow got even worse. Yesterday Marcus came by the apartment uninvited. He said he wanted to clear the air about everything. Turns out the story is even more fucked up than I thought. According to Marcus, Sarah first told him about Jake back in November. She said she was confused about her feelings and asked him not to tell me while she figured things out. Marcus said he told her she needed to either commit to our relationship or break up with me, but couldn't keep stringing me along. But here's the kicker, Marcus knew she was still seeing Jake and lying to me, and his solution was to just hope it would resolve itself naturally. He said he didn't want to be the one to break up my relationship but also felt like it wasn't his place to tell me. So you thought it was better to just let me live a lie indefinitely? I hoped she'd come to her senses. For 6 months? I know how it looks, but I was trying to stay out of it. Staying out of it would have been refusing to cover for her lies. What he actually did was actively participate in deceiving me. When I'd mention Sarah's trips, he'd nod along. When I'd talk about planning a future with her, he'd smile and act supportive. I told him I needed space from our friendship, at least for now. He didn't take it well. You're going to throw away 4 years of friendship over this? You threw away 4 years of friendship when you decided my girlfriend's comfort was more important than my right to know she was cheating on me. He left pretty upset. Katie texted me later saying I was being unfair to Marcus and that he was just trying to be a good friend to everyone. I'm starting to realize that my entire social circle has been treating me like a child who can't handle the truth about his own relationship. They made decisions about what I could and couldn't know, what I should and shouldn't be told. They robbed me of months of my life that I could have spent moving on and finding someone who actually wanted to be with me. Meanwhile, got a text from Jake yesterday. Apparently Sarah told him everything was out in the open now. His message said, "I'm sorry it went down like this and I hope we can all be adults about it." I didn't respond, but honestly, what the fuck? I hope we can all be adults about it. Like this is just some minor social awkwardness we all need to get past. The audacity is incredible. Update 3, 2 weeks later. Life has been weird as hell, but maybe getting better? Sarah moved all her stuff out last weekend. It was awkward and sad, but also kind of relieving. We split our shared belongings pretty fairly. She took the coffee table she'd bought, I kept the TV I'd paid for, that kind of thing. The hardest part was dividing up photos and gifts we'd given each other. She tried one more time to convince me to try couples therapy. Said she realized what she'd lost and wanted to fight for us. But when I asked her to explain exactly what she thought couples therapy would accomplish, she couldn't give me a real answer. We could work through the trust issues, she said. What would that look like, specifically? I don't know, but we could figure it out together. The thing is, I don't think she really understands what she did wrong. She keeps framing it like she made a mistake or had a moment of weakness, when what actually happened was months of deliberate deception. She scheduled trips with another man while living with me. She had sex with him and then came home and had sex with me. She involved our entire friend group in lying to me. That's not a mistake. That's a choice she made over and over again. I'm still not talking to Marcus or Katie. Dan reached out last week to check in, but when I explained how betrayed I felt by everyone, he said I was making this harder than it needs to be and that I should focus on moving forward instead of dwelling on who knew what when. Cool. So now I'm the problem for being hurt that my friends helped my girlfriend cheat on me. Sophie's the only one who's actually apologized. She came by Tuesday night with beer and said she was sorry for how everything went down. She said she knew it was wrong to keep Sarah's secret, but she didn't know how to handle the situation. I should have told you, she said. I was being a coward. It's not enough to rebuild the friendship overnight, but at least she acknowledges that what happened was fucked up. The weirdest part, I'm actually doing okay. Like, I'm sad about losing Sarah and I'm pissed about how our friends handled everything, but I'm not devastated the way I thought I'd be. I think maybe part of me knew something was off. Those last few months with Sarah, I kept feeling like she was pulling away but couldn't figure out why. Now that I know what was really happening, it actually makes sense. The distance, the secretiveness, the weird guilty behavior after her trips, it all adds up. I'm sleeping better than I have in months. I don't have to wonder why my girlfriend seems distracted or why our friends are acting strange around me. The uncertainty was almost worse than the truth. Started seeing a therapist last week. My insurance covers it through work, and honestly it's been helpful just to have someone unbiased to talk through everything with. She's helping me understand why the friend betrayal hurts so much. Apparently it's normal to feel more betrayed by friends than by a cheating partner in situations like this. I'm also getting back into hobbies I'd neglected. Started going to the climbing gym again, picked up guitar for the first time in years. It's nice to have goals that don't involve managing someone else's lives. Update 4, 1 month later. You guys are not going to believe this update. Last weekend I was at Target buying groceries when I ran into Emma, Sarah's sister. We've always gotten along well, and she seemed genuinely happy to see me. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "Better than expected, honestly. Thanks for asking." "Good. I'm glad. And I'm sorry about how everything happened." Something about the way she said it made me curious. "Can I ask you something? How much did you know about what was going on?" Emma got this confused look on her face. "What do you mean?" "About Sarah and Jake. The trips and everything." "Wait, what trips?" It turns out Emma knew nothing. Sarah had been using her sister as a cover story for months, and Emma had no idea. "She told you she was visiting me?" Emma asked. "Multiple times. She said you guys were sister bonding and planning girls' trips together." "We haven't done a girls' trip together since 2019. And she's visited me exactly twice in the past year." So not only had Sarah been lying to me, she'd been lying about her sister and using Emma as an unwitting cover story. When Emma found out that Sarah had been telling me they'd planned Miami and Austin together, she was livid. She dragged me into her lies without even telling me? What if you'd called me during one of her fake trips? That's when I realized how close Sarah's whole house of cards had been to falling down. If I'd ever decided to call Emma to ask about their plans, or if I'd wanted to send flowers to their hotel, or if any number of normal boyfriend things had occurred to me, I would have discovered the truth immediately. Emma was so angry she called Sarah right there in the Target aisle and tore into her. I could hear Sarah's voice through the phone trying to explain herself, but Emma wasn't having it. "You used me as a cover story to cheat on your boyfriend? Are you insane?" Apparently Sarah broke down crying and begged Emma not to tell their parents. Emma said she wasn't planning to tell their parents, but their relationship was going to need some serious work. After Emma hung up, we talked for a few more minutes. She said Sarah had been acting weird and secretive for months, but Emma had assumed it was just work stress or relationship stuff she didn't want to talk about. She asked me not to post pictures when she was supposedly visiting, Emma said. Said she was trying to be more private about her social media. I thought it was odd, but not suspicious. Emma also told me that Jake had never been someone Sarah could just be friends with. Every time they've tried to be friends since they dated, it turns into drama. I told her when you guys started dating that she should cut contact with him if she wanted your relationship to work. So even Sarah's own sister saw this coming. The thing that really gets me, Sarah put so much effort into maintaining elaborate lies. She had to remember fake itineraries, coordinate stories with our friends, avoid posting photos that might contradict her cover stories. She had to actively deceive her own sister on top of deceiving me. How is maintaining a double life easier than just breaking up with someone? Update 5. 3 weeks ago I matched with this girl Rebecca on Hinge. We've been on 4 dates and she's really cool? Refreshingly straightforward and honest about everything. She communicates clearly, she doesn't play games, she says what she means. After my second date with Rebecca, Katie texted me asking if I was already dating other people because Sophie had seen me at a restaurant with someone new. The implication seemed to be that I was moving on too fast or being disrespectful to Sarah's feelings. Sarah lost the right to have feelings about my dating life when she decided to date someone else while living with me, I texted back. Katie didn't respond. It's weird how differently I feel about dating now. With Sarah, I always felt like I was trying to be the perfect boyfriend, like I had to earn her attention and affection. With Rebecca, it feels more like we're both choosing to spend time together because we enjoy each other's company. There's no games or confusion or wondering what she's really thinking. Maybe that's just the difference between dating someone who wants to be with you versus dating someone who's settling for you while keeping other options open. 2 nights ago Sarah texted me, "I know you're seeing someone new. I'm happy you're moving on. I hope we can be friends someday." I didn't respond to that either. I'm not interested in being friends with someone who spent months systematically lying to me. Maybe that makes me petty, but I don't think I owe her access to my life after what she did. Meanwhile, Marcus and I ran into each other at the gym yesterday. He made this big show of coming over to say hi, asking how I was doing, acting like nothing had happened. "We should grab a beer sometime," he said. "I miss hanging out." "I'm not ready for that," I told him. "Come on, man. How long are you going to stay mad about this?" "I don't know. Maybe until you understand why I'm mad in the first place." He got frustrated and said I was holding grudges and making this bigger than it needs to be. I think that's what bothers me most about the friend situation. None of them seem to understand that what they did was a betrayal. They all act like they were caught in an impossible situation and did the best they could, when what they actually did was choose to protect Sarah's lies instead of protecting me from being deceived. Marcus literally watched me talk about planning a future with Sarah, knowing she was sleeping with someone else behind my back. That's not being caught in the middle. That's being complicit. Update 6, 2 months post-breakup. I'm doing really well, honestly. Rebecca and I made things official last week. I was nervous about getting into anything serious so quickly, but my therapist pointed out that I'd actually been emotionally single for months before Sarah and I physically broke up. The relationship had been over in practice long before it was over on paper. It's amazing being with someone who's excited to be with me. Rebecca talks about future plans like she assumes I'll be part of them. She doesn't hedge or keep things vague. When she wants to see me, she says so. When she's thinking about something, she shares it. Last weekend she wanted to introduce me to her college friends who were visiting, and it felt completely natural. No weird secrecy or reluctance to include me in different parts of her life. Plot twist nobody saw coming, Jake reached out to me last week. He wanted to meet up for coffee to clear the air between us. I almost said no, but honestly I was curious about what he had to say. Turns out Jake had no idea Sarah was living with me when they started hooking up again. According to him, Sarah told him we'd broken up but were still living together temporarily for financial reasons. "She said you guys were basically roommates at that point," Jake said. "I never would have gotten involved if I'd known you were still actually together." "How long did you believe that?" "Honestly? Until a couple weeks ago when Emma called me and tore me apart for helping Sarah cheat." So Jake spent months thinking he was helping Sarah get over a breakup, not realizing he was actually helping her cheat on her current boyfriend. Sarah had lied to both of us. "I feel like shit about it," Jake said. "I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I wanted you to know I wasn't trying to help her cheat." I actually believe him. Jake's a lot of things, but he's not a liar. And honestly, his story makes more sense than wondering why he'd be cool with helping someone cheat. "Did you guys actually go to Miami and New Orleans?" I asked. "Yeah, but she told me they were trips to celebrate her being single again. She said she needed to get away and do things that felt like freedom." Jesus Christ. Sarah was using trips with her ex-boyfriend as a way to celebrate being free from our relationship, while still coming home to our shared apartment and shared bed every time. The conversation with Jake was weird but ultimately helpful. It confirmed that Sarah's capacity for deception went way beyond what I'd even imagined. She wasn't just lying to me, she was creating completely different versions of reality for different people in her life. Jake and I aren't going to be friends or anything, but at least I don't hate him anymore. He was being lied to almost as much as I was. The friend group has basically permanently split. Marcus, Katie, and Dan still hang out together and apparently with Sarah sometimes. Sophie apologized properly and we've started texting occasionally, though we're not really close anymore. I'm honestly fine with it. I've been hanging out more with Rebecca's friends, getting back into climbing, and spending more time with college friends who weren't part of the whole drama. My therapist says I'm handling everything in a really healthy way. I'm not trying to get revenge or make Sarah's life difficult. I'm not bad-mouthing her to mutual acquaintances or trying to turn people against her. I'm just focused on building a life with people who are honest and trustworthy. The biggest thing I've learned from all this is that actions really do show you who people are. Sarah could say she loved me as many times as she wanted, but her actions showed that she was willing to deceive me for months to avoid uncomfortable conversations. Marcus could say he was trying to be a good friend, but his actions showed that he valued keeping peace over protecting me from being lied to. Rebecca's actions show me that she's excited to be with me and wants me to be part of her life. My therapist's actions show me that she cares about my mental health and growth. Emma's actions showed me that she values honesty and integrity over family loyalty. I'm actually grateful this all happened when it did. If Sarah had just broken up with me without me finding out about the cheating, I probably would have tried to get back together with her. I would have assumed we could work through whatever problems we were having. Now I know that our problems weren't about communication or compatibility. Our problem was that she wanted to be with someone else but didn't want to give up the comfort and stability of our relationship. There's no fixing that with couples therapy. Final update, 6 months later. I can't believe it's been 6 months since this all started. Life looks completely different now, and honestly, I'm happier than I've been in years. Rebecca and I moved in together last month. I know that probably sounds fast, but it feels right. She's nothing like Sarah, she's direct, reliable, and genuinely excited about building a life together. We talk about everything, including what happened with Sarah, and she's never made me feel weird or insecure about my past relationship trauma. Last week we ran into Sarah at a coffee shop downtown. It was the first time I'd seen her since she moved her stuff out of our apartment. She looked not great, honestly. Tired, maybe stressed. She tried to make small talk and ask how I was doing, but I kept it brief and polite. After we left, Rebecca said, "Is it weird that she seemed kind of desperate to talk to you?" I noticed it too. Sarah kept finding reasons to extend the conversation, asking about my job, my family, whether I was still climbing. Like she was fishing for information about my life. 2 days after the coffee shop encounter, Sarah texted me, "It was really good to see you the other day. I've been thinking a lot about everything that happened between us. I know I messed up badly, but I've learned so much about myself since then. Any chance you'd be open to meeting up to talk? I'd love to buy you coffee and apologize properly." I showed the text to Rebecca, who just laughed. "Let me guess, things didn't work out with Jake." I hadn't really thought about that, but it would make sense. I asked Sophie, who I occasionally text with now, if she knew what was going on in Sarah's life. "Oh yeah, Jake dumped her like 3 months ago," Sophie said. "Apparently once he found out she'd been lying to him about you, he couldn't trust her anymore. Who would have thought that someone who lies to their boyfriend would also lie to their side piece? The irony is almost too perfect." I didn't respond to Sarah's text. There's nothing she could say that would change anything, and I'm not interested in giving her closure or forgiveness to make herself feel better. My therapist and I have talked about this extensively. Forgiveness isn't something you owe to people who hurt you, especially when they're asking for it for their own benefit rather than yours. Rebecca asked me the other night if I ever regret how things went down. "Do you ever wish you tried to work it out with Sarah?" "Never," I said, and I meant it. Finding out about the cheating was the best thing that could have happened to our relationship. "Because you got to end it." Because I got to end it knowing exactly why it needed to end. If Sarah had just broken up with me normally, I would have spent years wondering what I did wrong, whether I could have been a better boyfriend, if we could have made it work somehow. Instead, I know with complete certainty that the relationship failed because she chose to lie and cheat rather than have honest conversations about what she wanted. The friend situation has mostly resolved itself. Marcus and I are never going to be close again, and I'm fine with that. I've realized that the kind of person who can watch their friend get deceived for months isn't someone I want in my life anyway. Katie still occasionally likes my Instagram posts, but we don't really talk. Dan acts like nothing happened whenever we run into each other, which is somehow more annoying than if he just acknowledged the weirdness. Sophie and I are slowly rebuilding a friendship. She's been honest about why she made the choices she made, she's apologized sincerely, and she's shown through her actions that she understands what went wrong. It's not the same as it used to be, but it's something. I've made better friends through Rebecca, through climbing, and through work. People who are straightforward and honest, who don't play games or keep dramatic secrets. It's amazing how much easier friendships are when everyone involved values honesty and communication. 6 months ago I thought my life was falling apart. I was losing my girlfriend of 2 years, my entire friend group, and the future I'd been planning. It felt like starting over from scratch. Now I realize I wasn't losing anything worth keeping. I was just making room for better things. Rebecca and I are planning a trip to Iceland next spring. I'm getting promoted at work in January. I'm climbing harder routes than I ever have before. I have friends who actually have my back. Most importantly, I trust my own judgment again. For months while Sarah was cheating, I kept feeling like something was wrong but talking myself out of it. I'd think I'm just being paranoid or I'm reading too much into things. Now I know that my gut was right all along. Sarah was pulling away, our friends were acting weird, and something was definitely wrong. I'm never going to ignore that kind of intuition again. To anyone dealing with something similar, trust yourself. If something feels off, it probably is. If your friends are acting weird around you, there's probably a reason. If your partner is being secretive or defensive, pay attention to that. Most importantly, don't stay with someone just because you've invested time in the relationship. Don't maintain friendships with people who don't respect you enough to be honest with you. You deserve people in your life who are excited to be there, who choose you deliberately and consistently, who don't make you guess where you stand. It took me 24 years to figure that out, but better late than never. Thanks to everyone who followed this story and offered support in the comments. Reading about other people's experiences and perspectives really helped me process everything. This community can be pretty amazing when it comes to helping people navigate difficult situations. I'm logging off this throwaway account now, but I wanted to give you all a proper ending. Sometimes the cheaters don't get dramatic comeuppance, and sometimes the betrayed friends don't realize the error of their ways. But sometimes you just get to build a better life with better people, and that's its own kind of happy ending. Take care, everyone.